Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the stream. I hope we're all well. I've decided to do my post-match thing as a stream today instead of my normal video because there's a lot to talk about and I kind of want your guys' opinions as well. If you're watching this after the fact too, let me know what you think in the comments down below and I'll probably discuss them in the build-up to the Hull City match. So, that wasn't great. 2-2 draw against Watford, not quite what you want to see, especially when we're in a promotion push, especially when Leicester have dropped points, when Southampton have dropped points. In theory, it could have been a day when us and Ipswich decided to pull clear, get a little bit of space, and just keep pushing on for that guaranteed promotion. Wasn't the case, which isn't brilliant. So, I've done a little bit of a run-through of what I thought went wrong. I've got things mostly scripted out, but if you have anything to say in the comments, just let me know, and we will happily discuss all of that and work out exactly what went wrong against Watford and how we can fix it for Hull. It was 2-2. It wasn't quite what we wanted to see, and we did struggle more than we expected, and I think the lineup changes caused significant issues that we just weren't ready for. But what did go wrong? But first of all, massively appreciated. If you haven't yet, please drop a sub on the video. It's massively appreciated. Helps the channel to keep on growing, helps us get out to more people. It means stuff like the charity quizzes that I'm doing reach more people and raise a little bit more money for Prostate Cancer UK, which is absolutely huge. But yeah, going to dive into it now. First up, the first major issue that a lot of people noted in this match were the massive defensive difficulties that we had. And that is completely unavoidable. We had colossal issues at the back, and a lot of it came from the fact that we had injuries and we had players unavailable. Injuries hugely cost us. We need to keep in mind that Connor Roberts, currently out for 3 weeks. Not good. At the time, we were like, maybe he's only got a light knock. Maybe he'll be completely fine. He's not completely fine. He's got slightly worse than a light knock. Big problems. 3 weeks is a lot of this running, and that's not fantastic, especially when it means we're going to have to bounce players around the back and around midfield in order to account for it. In addition to that, Ilya Gruev also missed this match because of his knock. He's got a little bit of swelling. Word is he might be back for the Hull City match, which will be absolutely huge, but I'll get onto Ilya Gruev a little bit later. And Junior Firpo was only partially available. By the fact he was on the bench, we can sort of assume that Daniel Farke thought it's a little bit too much of a risk to just decide sod it and play him and hope that it works. And I completely get that. Bringing him on in the second half was essential to us improving, but the fact he was only partially available is something that you just sort of have to work with sometimes. That meant that we were stuck, basically, with a back line of Byram, Cooper, Rodon, Gray. I've just realised that my screen's mirrored. So Byram, left back, Cooper, Rodon, Gray, playing at right back. I thought going into the match that we would have benefited a little bit more from having Archie Gray playing in that midfield spot, from having Junior Firpo's width, but if Firpo wasn't ready to start, then that's not something that you can do. And in addition to that, it was very clear that Liam Cooper was missing a little bit of match sharpness. Now, I'm not saying that he wasn't fit, because he was fit. He was completely fit and firing, and he could do the running. But sharpness is more where your head's at. Sharpness is more, are you mentally in the right position to play this match? Are you fully equipped for what they're going to throw at you? And I feel like Liam Cooper, having not played proper football for a good while, struggled in that regard quite significantly, which I think was a little bit of an issue. And as a result, it meant that his decision-making was a little bit fraught, a little bit frayed. He wasn't 100% sure on what he should do next. And that meant that we were missing that relative calmness in the back line. That defensive line massively benefits all the time from having that Ampadu-Rodon pairing. Two players that are comfortable with the ball at their feet. Ampadu from the fact that he effectively plays as a midfielder for a significant part of his career before now, and Rodon because he is honestly a little bit better than the level of this league. Rodon is one of those players that is just effectively like walking it. He might look a little bit spooked from time to time, but in reality, that's not the biggest of issues. Also, the dog has just screamed, so I'll be back in a second. Damn it, Arlo. Where are you? Anyway, what's going on? Dog has been dealt with. Sorry about that, guys. So, we were missing that calmness in the backline, which is a significant issue when Watford are a team that are slightly changing their formation. So normally this season they played 4 back. This week they played 3 at the back, and that was a little bit of aggression that caused us some problems. And I think that hecticness led to its own problems. So, for example, we were quite unlucky on the first goal. I got a nice little screenshot of this one, which is somewhere, this one. So, when you're looking at that shape, and I've just realised I can't illustrate over this at the moment, but number 25, Sam Byram, is on the penalty spot. Liam Cooper is relatively to the left of him, and that feels like Sam Byram has probably lost his man. Number 19 in the yellow kit here is the one that ends up scoring, and arguably that's the player that you're meant to be dealing with if you're the left back. However, Sam Byram wasn't there, which means that he was just drawn a little bit out of position, wasn't quite placed properly to deal with that threat, and they ended up scoring a tap-in after what was honestly a really good stop from Milan Meslier. I think we got quite unlucky on that one. And then the second goal is similarly messy from both Liam Cooper and Sam Byram. Now, I can't play the clips because I know for a fact it'll get the stream taken down. I've dealt with that issue before, and it's not fun. But I can do screenshots again. Now, you might notice that you can't see Sam Byram on this image. The person facing off with their player on the ball is Liam Cooper. Next to him is Joe Rodon. Across the box by the penalty spot, you can see Ethan Ampadu. You can see Archie Gray. You can't see Sam Byram. You can't see the left back, who is meant to be dealing with the right winger. And that's because, again, Sam Byram has been drawn up the pitch. So if I get rid of this little header, there he is. A little bit too high up the pitch, caught out of position again. And I think all of that sort of lack of shape and structure at the back meant that we just sort of had consistent issues when it came to defending in this match. And once you concede 2 goals, you're left chasing the game. And that's how it becomes almost impossible to win the match. You sort of get yourself into a position where you're like, well, we've made our own problems today, and we need to be doing better than that. But that's my little chat on the defensive bit sorted. Next up, I'm going to go into midfield control. But first, I'm going to run through some of the comments so far, see what you guys have to say. Also, if you haven't yet, I would massively appreciate dropping a like on the stream. Just gets it pushed out a little bit, and it very much helps the channel. We could have kept our back 2, moved Gray to midfield, and Shax and Byram in the fullback. I think that probably makes sense. Yeah, I did think the team pick was good enough to win. In theory, it was. But then you have to consider, what if players aren't quite sharp? What if players aren't quite fit? Are you going to get some problems with that? And that's what I think we ultimately stumbled into. We've got a Team Arlo. No, he screamed. That's no good. Very unlucky to change the back 4. That's the main mistake. I think that's the same sort of position. I think having a more consistent back 4 would have meant that we would have had a much greater chance of winning that match. Would have felt a little bit more sturdy, would have felt solid, and would have been a little bit happier with it, to be completely honest with you. We're back to hearing Joseph should start. I thought we were done with that. He's a great super sub, and he plays off the bench that can change games, and he's perfect with his pace versus tired legs. I'm in the same boat, but I will get into the Mateo Joseph stuff a little bit later on, because I think I'm in a similar position, but I might need to persuade myself one way or the other, because it's one of those spots where I'm like, what do I think? I don't quite have a solid opinion on this one quite yet. Anyway, messing with the defence in that way was not good for us, caused us some problems, and it meant that we destructured our midfield at the same time. So Ampadu not playing at centre-back meant that he pushed forward into midfield, and that caused its own problems for getting midfield control, because we very obviously missed Ilya Gruev's presence in the midfield. Now, I'm of the opinion that Ethan Ampadu is a fantastic midfielder. Nothing is going to change my mind on that. He's very good, both in midfield and in defence. Excellent. Someone that can do both. Wonderful. However, he is a very different type of defensive midfield, comparing Gruev and Ampadu, because you've got Ilya Gruev, who runs for days, will never stop sprinting after the ball, pressing, putting in those high-energy challenges to just like bang into people. And that's great, because his timing on those challenges, spot on. Never has an issue. Ampadu, very different. Ampadu is calm. Ampadu is composed. Ampadu is... I saw someone describe him as like slightly Rolls-Roycey. Someone that when he's got on the ball is going to be calm, is going to look for the next pass. Someone that when he's trying to close down an attack, he relies more on the positioning than he does the sprinting around like Ilya Gruev does. Which means that against Watford, a side that were using that pace, that running, were causing us some significant issues. Kind of missed out. I think Gruev was the perfect midfielder for that match because he would have just shut down those energetic attacks a lot earlier because he's better at dealing with that. Ampadu's better for your more solid structure. Gruev is more reactive, responsive, better at dealing with those high-pace attacks from the other teams. And I think you have to combine that with the fact that we lost Ampadu's passing from centre-back. As I mentioned earlier, Cooper going in at centre-back meant that, in essence, you've got someone that is receiving the ball and then, compared to Ampadu, panicking a little bit and not quite knowing the next step in the chain, not knowing what to do with it next. And when you have Ampadu back there instead, you've also got the ability to play those nice long switches, those long balls, such as the assist to Patrick Bamford at Peterborough. He's done that quite a lot this season, and it's something that I think against Watford would have been absolutely fantastic because they did defend in quite a, at least when we were in more transitional moments and the centre-backs had the ball, they defended in a position that was really high up the pitch, which meant that those balls behind would have been spectacular, but it didn't work out. And we did manage to fix our midfield issues late on because Firpo came on for Cooper. That switched Firpo into the left-back spot, Byram over to the right-back, Gray into midfield, and Ampadu back to centre-back. But by that point, we'd conceded 2. And it was a little bit much of a challenge to pull the game back. We did have some quite big issues with ball progression as well, because you need to really control a midfield if you want to progress a ball properly. And that's why Bamford had some issues in this game. Any striker is going to look bad when they're not getting the ball all match. And it's not the striker's responsibility to make sure that the midfield can pass the ball. It's the striker's responsibility to get into those dangerous places. And Bamford was doing that as normal. It's just there wasn't any service. And I think this is a clear lesson for the rest of the season that Ilya Gruev in that lineup is a must if he is fit. And Ampadu at centre-back is essential. Needs to be done. And if we don't do it, I think we could have some bigger issues than we expect. I'm going to hop into how exactly we pulled the game back in a moment, but I'm just going to run through some comments first. Our resident Ipswich fan. Hello, Jacob. All I'm going to say on this one, I would rather Ipswich be the side that go up than Leicester. That's all I've got to say on that one. How are you not all down to cooperate? A lot of poor performances. I'm not quite sure what you mean, but that's fine. It was... I think the issue we had was more structural than anything. And as the comments are going to get into with thought one creator last night was well out of order with the name calling of Cooper, I'm in the same spot there. And I'm on that one as well, because I feel like we're in a position where Liam Cooper is completely fine as a centre-back. He's not someone that is a fundamentally bad player. It's just he's not got the sharpness for it. And when he's not played all season, of course he's not got the sharpness for it, because how is he going to get it? He's not got the football in his legs. And it's going to take a little bit more time to build that up, build that into him. And I think it will happen if it has to. But I'm a lot more comfortable with the Ampadu-Rodon pairing. And that's not a dig at Cooper at all. That is just the quality of those two other players. The candle scent is mango lemonade. Trouble is, we watch him... Those that watch him hang on to every word said. I'm not going to dive into that. I'm not going to start any drama or anything. People do need to leave Cooper alone. I would call him a club legend. He was the club captain when Leeds went up and a fundamental part of that Bielsa side. If people want to back Marcelo Bielsa and call him a club legend, they have to say the same for Liam Cooper. And I might do an FM stream later. I'm not 100% sure. I've not decided. I think I will, though, because I kind of want to. Anyway, in a moment, I'm going to dive into how exactly we got back into the game, some of the changes we made, and some of the lessons we've learned. But, Dave, you've not joined that late, only 15 minutes or so. I've just gone through the defensive structural issues, midfieldy stuff. I'm going to go into how we turned it around now. Should be fine. Bielsa's a magnificent manager. His talent's wasted in international football. I love it because he made Leif Davis Daviesy. I kind of wish we'd kept Leif Davis. It's pain, but that's fine. Anyway, diving into the how exactly we pulled it back points. 1 second. I keep being distracted by the chat, but that's fine because we're here to have a conversation. I'm okay about last night's result. I think we deserved a point, could have won it. I'm in the same sort of spot there. I think if we make the changes a little bit sooner, that's okay. And Cooper shouldn't be near the starting lineup. It's okay to say it. He was at fault for the second goal and we lost on position. His hand went up looking for offside, even when Rodon was in front. I think that was a combination between Cooper got caught out of position, but at the same time, Byram is miles up the pitch. Byram is equally lost in that situation, and it's just a little bit of a defensive structural thing that you get when a back four hasn't played together at all, really. And I disagree on this one, to be honest. I don't think he should have been binned years ago. I think we're in a situation where right now he's not Matt Sharp, and the past 2 years he was playing under Jesse Marsh. Do you want to show me a single player that played well under Marsh that wasn't Rafinha? Because every single player from last season that played under Marsh is now better under Farke. I don't think that's a Cooper problem. Anyway, diving into it. Also, please do smash the like. That's much appreciated. Gets this pushed out. Massively appreciated just to get people watching the content, and it helps with all the charity bits and bobs as well. So if you've got a moment, scroll down a little bit, 1 click. Hugely appreciated. Anyway, diving into it, pulling it back, how exactly did we fix things? And I think the first substitution was one of the most helpful things we could have done. And it tells me that Daniel Farke really understood the match that he was watching as he was watching it. The substitution itself was Junior Firpo came on, Liam Cooper came off. On the face of it, that is complete nonsense. Liam Cooper's a centre-back, Junior Firpo is a left-back. But you need to consider the way that the restructure happened. So Firpo comes on at left-back, Sam Byram switches to right-back, Archie Gray pushes into midfield, which drops Ampadu to centre-back, replacing Liam Cooper, who came off. And that completely restructured the team, not only in terms of personnel, but in terms of shape, in terms of the way we were playing, and it was fantastic. First off, because Junior Firpo added a lot of width on the left. The thing with left-backs is, and it's a very Sunday leaguey thing, but it applies. It makes sense. If you have a left-footed left-back, that means that you have a massive benefit going because said left-back is able to cross from their natural foot, is able to dribble out wide, whereas Sam Byram naturally floats in a little bit because he's right-footed. He's used to being a right-back. He's not really played there for Leeds this season, but his right-footed nature means that he drifts inside, and that causes a little bit of an issue. In addition to that, Archie Gray really helped us to grab control of that midfield. He's sort of got that Gruevism to him, and in that he does a lot more running than Ethan Ampadu does, partially through his youth and the fact that he's a very, very energetic kind of guy, and partially through the fact that in terms of ball retention, he is roughly as good as the likes of Jorginho Rutter. If he's getting challenged, he's not. He's going to find a way to hold the ball, and that's something that I really think is valuable in Archie Gray's game, and it's something that he's especially learning from his time at right-back. He's learning a lot about, okay, so do I take on my man? Do I play the pass? His decision-making is really improving. And as I mentioned earlier, Ethan Ampadu going to centre-back was also absolutely huge for us because Ampadu drops in as a centre-back. We've got that passing range again. We've got that long ball through to Patrick Bamford or whoever else is up top at the time. And I think that first substitution really reshaped the way that Leeds United were playing in this match and helped us to develop and sort of get a little bit more control, because that's what we didn't have in the first half. That's how we were getting those problems from Watford. And yeah, it was a little bit annoying, wasn't it? And then we grabbed control of the midfield and things got a little bit easier. It could be game state. It could be the fact that we were winning. And as I mentioned in my match preview, they're really, really, really good at holding on to draws, Watford. So that's what they learned and that's what they tried to do. But we did what we could to deal with it. One substitution I was less of a fan of. And this is one that I'm going to want sort of chat opinions on in a couple of minutes. But I think there are some big questions over Joe Piroe, because he very clearly struggled as a 10. You could see balls coming into him. He'd try and take a first touch and it'd be quite loose, or he'd try and play a pass and it'd be a yard behind the man. And again, this could be a question over the match sharpness issue. Why am I struggling to speak right now? But you sort of want a little bit more from him. And that's completely understandable from his point of view and from Leeds' point of view, because he's not had that many minutes yet either. Because since Bamford came in and Bamford has made us look significantly better, it's understandable that maybe he's a little bit off the pace. But I think when you compare him to someone else that came onto the pitch, being Mateo Joseph, I think Piru's impact looked a little bit bad. Because Joseph came on and he was sprinting constantly, absolutely everywhere. And admittedly, his role was a little bit different. Joseph was coming on as a 9, Piru came on as a 10. But at the same time, you can tell that Joseph, even in that 10 position, or a second striker alongside Patrick Bamford, would probably be a little bit better because Joseph is more mobile. And he's very much in the groove. And whilst I wouldn't start him for the game against Hull City, because I still think Bamford's positioning is something that is impossible to replace right now, it definitely shunts him up the pecking order. It definitely makes me think if we need to make an emergency sub in an attacking position, I probably go Mateo Joseph over Joel Piru. But as I mentioned, I'm going to kind of want chat opinions on this one in terms of the pulling it back and what we could really, really do about it. Yeah. So let's have a quick dive through. It's why Firpo has shone over the new year, left footer on the left. Fun little fact for you that I discovered whilst I was watching the match last night, and I'm just going to have to double check it and see if it's just in the league or if it's in general. But as far as I know, when we've started a game with Junior Firpo on the pitch, we've not lost yet this season, which is huge. The fact that he's had that much of an impact, despite being someone that absolutely everyone just sort of says, he's shit, he's naff. He's not. He plays a colossal role in this side. Let's have a very, very, very quick look at the numbers. Matches. Yeah, every single game in the league that Junior Firpo has started so far this season, we've gone unbeaten, which shows me how important it is having that left-footed left-back in that position because it absolutely works out. And there was a comment I saw a little bit earlier that I kind of wanted to bring up. I'm in the spot where I don't think that Leeds as a structure sold Leif Davis. I think Jesse Marsh sold Leif Davis because Jesse Marsh knew he wanted to buy in a shitload of players and we were running out of registration room, which is a little bit annoying. Anyway, kind of expected a bit of a flat performance, although not as flat as the first half. We were never going to win every game. Absolutely true. You can't just steamroll every team in the Championship because they are going to do things to work against you. And we were missing more players than Hull City were. And it was a little bit destructured, which was irritating. Would you start Shaq at right back versus Hull if Grove isn't fit and play Gray midfield? I still think Byram Firpo. Byram on the right is fine. Byram on the right isn't a problem. Firpo on the left is excellent. And then you can still play Gray in the midfield. You don't need to dismantle everything and say, because again, the match sharpness thing, I don't know how sharp Jamie Shackleton will feel. So I think Byram, Firpo, probably the more effective way to do that, but I'm not entirely certain. Whole defence looked nervy in the first half, and in particular Meslier. I think Meslier looked fine enough. His distribution was a little bit iffy, especially that one where he figured, I'll fire it up the pitch as hard as I can because he probably saw Patrick Bamford making a run. But I still think Meslier had a pretty good match. That save before the first goal, there's nothing you can do about the follow-up. That's where you need Cooper or Byram to step in and deal with it. And the second one is just out of reach. Again, that's a case of he's been relatively unsighted by the fact his two centre-backs are between him and the ball. It's not easy. Piru's Paul last night, very sloppy. Felt like someone who hasn't played first-team football for a while. Is probably the best way that I'd want to put that. Always looks like he's playing at 0.9 times speed. I think that's more of his build than anything. I think he's just built as a big guy. And that makes it sort of a little bit difficult for us. Because it means that he's not quite as mobile as a Georgie. Because we know that Jorginho Ruter's movement is insane. And his strength on the ball and his ball retention is something that you don't get from a lot of players in this division. Yeah. And I don't think I would start Mateo Joseph versus Hull, but I think if we're in a situation where you want to put Joel Piru on, you probably think Mateo Joseph instead first. It might just be a case of Piru being off the pace, but in the championship run-in, you can't afford to have players off the pace when you're trying to bring on someone to change the game. I think Rutter is probably feeling it, admittedly, but he's as fit as you're likely to get right now, off the top of my head. I'm just going to have a very quick skim through. As I've said, not going to touch this one. Focus on a win against Hull, then it will have been a good away point. Absolutely. 2 points from this match when we have a far from fit first 11 will be brilliant. More than enough. Farke won't select Cooper again. I think it'll be on the bench. If we have injury issues, then we'll probably select Cooper. But fact of the matter is, I think Cooper would be, if everyone is fit, currently our third choice left centre-back behind Ampadu and Strauch. I don't know the order of the Ampadu-Strauch, but yeah, I think if Cooper plays again, it's either off the bench or if we're already up on the final day of the season. Rutter looks great when it comes off, but I bet if you checked, you'd find that he's responsible for the majority of turnovers. I think there's a way that I can find that, actually. 1 second, I'm just going to find that little bit of data. Hull aren't as good as we think. Home advantage means it's a 2-goal win. I think in the last 5, they've not won and had 4 draws or something like that, which means that we're in a pretty good position for the Hull match. I will do a full preview for that as well, but I think we're in a decent enough spot for Hull. I'm not super concerned. Right. Gonna try and find this little bit of data. Goal and shot creation. It's not going to be defensive actions. Is it going to be possession? Oh, yeah. So, had a quick look at the numbers. And we have a nice little tackled number, which is the number of times that a player is tackled whilst they're trying to take someone on. This isn't counting turnovers from dribbling, but it's fine. It's okay. Jorginho Rutter, in terms of tackled numbers during take-ons, is first in the Leeds United side, 122. Second place is Crescencio Somerville on 67, which isn't great. But you sort of have to look at the success percentage from all of the players as well, and that's where it becomes a little bit more in question. Because in terms of success percentage, in terms of take-ons, he has a better rate of succeeding, or at least not being tackled, than Somerville, than Dan James, than Archie Gray, than Nonto, than Piru, than Byram. Gonna have to look for more wingers. Than Sinistera did, than Paveda did, than all of the wingers, effectively, which means that he just tries it more than everyone else. And that, I think that's why people get a little bit frustrated, because he's made the attempt. And if the attempt hasn't paid off, then it's easy to get frustrated. And I completely get that. But when it does pay off, it tends to mean that we get an assist, which complicated, I think. Joseph is clearly a better option than Bamford, but the first 11 set for this season. This is where I disagree. This is where I'm a little bit, well, I don't think so. Because Bamford's first start in the league for Leeds, off the top of my head, was against Cardiff. I think on the 13th of January. I'll have to double check just to make sure that that's totally correct. No, it wasn't. It was against Birmingham, which was on New Year's Day. Since then, we've not lost a league game, which means that at least structurally what he does is key. So I don't really want to make those changes. I think it's a little bit of a risk to bring in Joseph, and then if something falls apart, then you're stuck doing what we did today when we realised we made the wrong tactical decision. We're stuck going, shit, we need to change things again. And by that point, you've lost 45 minutes to an hour of the match, which is itself a little bit of a problem. Where are we looking? Injuries taking a toll on key players and the replacements aren't good enough. I think that's purely an issue based on the fact that we were relegated last year. And looking at it realistically, we lost a hell of a lot of players and we could only bring in so many without breaching FFP. So the replacements might not be good enough, but that's not something that we could solve either in the summer or in January. This is incredibly harsh because Cooper is a better player than Chesterfield. Hull lost at home to Stoke yesterday, which is absolutely huge. Disappointed to see Repair play. I didn't think he'd be fit. I don't think he was fully fit, but I think he was fit enough to start because who else do you start as a 10? He's our one pure number 10, and I think if you replace him, then you're running more risks. Skipping through, what would you take on James yesterday? He looked mentally and physically tired and was trying too hard. I feel like Dan James was in a spot where he tried doing what he always does, which is knock it past a player and run. And that works 90% of the time. And there was a point in the first half where he tried that and he was knocked to the floor by a defender. And the first thing that came to my mind was, that's probably a foul. Referee didn't give it. But I think he relies on having a defensive structure around it that's working. He relies on having midfielders that understand what they're doing and relies on having basically players around him. So in the first half, you could tell that Dan James wasn't at it because no one around him was at it. He didn't have someone to play those nice little 1-2s off of because we got clogged up in the midfield every single time. So it looked like he was trying stuff and it wasn't working out, which is annoying, but who knows? International break to blame, only the big clubs and FIFA poster boys benefit from it. I'd even say that the big clubs don't benefit from it because they also lose their key players, but it's annoying. Yeah, I think playing like he normally does seemed to cut in inside a lot instead of crossing it in. Also true, but that's because we weren't getting Bamford into the right positions, which was a shame. I'm going to try and catch up on the chat because you guys are chatting a lot, and that is much appreciated, but it's hard to keep up. Team set for the season. Next season, Bamford won't start if he's still here. I think it depends on what we do in the summer. I think we need someone very Bamford-y to sign in the summer if we want to replace Bamford, purely because Pat has that movement down. And if we sign someone that doesn't have that movement down, then the problems kick in yet again. International football should be banned. That's a big shout. That's a big, dangerous shout. If you listen to certain creators, Ampadu should only play in midfield. If you listen to the numbers, when we've played Ampadu at centre-back, we've not conceded from open play. I don't know who these certain creators are, but when Ampadu is one of the two centre-backs that hasn't conceded from open play this season, you don't replace it. You don't mess with that because it's something that works. Agreed on this. 19 likes, 43 watching. Come on, smash the like. We're now at 22. If we can keep that building up, that would be absolutely spectacular. Someone at the EFL probably paid off whoever crocked Nanto, Grove and Roberts. I think Roberts crocked himself running. So if he's getting paid off by the EFL, that'd be a hell of a twist. That'd be impressive. Farke did get it wrong, I think. A little bit of a mistake, but it's one that we can learn from, and at least we didn't drop all 3 points. Anyway, now we have the important question. What have we learned? What did we learn from this match? And the first bit that I've noted down is do not mess with that back line. The back line is fine. Having Firpo in there means that we are both better attacking and defensively because the way that he moves forward means that we're getting a little bit more width going like into aggressive positions. Whereas when you've got Byram, who likes to play on the inside, we've got no one overlapping on the outside of Crescencio Somerville, which itself causes a problem. And then defensively, I know a lot of people will disagree with this, but last night, Sam Byram didn't have the running to get back and cover, which is the reason a lot of people tend to prefer him over Junior Firpo. And in my opinion, if Junior Firpo is doing that defensive running a little bit better, your reason to pick Sam Byram goes away a little bit. In addition to that, keeping Archie Gray at right back is an okay idea, But when you lose midfield control as a result, maybe Byron plays over there instead. And the centre-back pairing of Ampadu and Rodon, as I've just mentioned, is essential for us to do better. Ilya Gruev is a lot more important than we think. Earlier on in the season, a lot of people made the joke of Ilya Gruev is the guy that you bring on when there's 2 minutes left and you need someone to take a yellow card. It's evolved from that to Ilya Gruev has an 81% win rate at Leeds United, which is colossal. I think that's better than average, at least in this side this season. And if we end up in a position where we are missing Ilya Gruev, we need to find a way to recreate his energy in the middle of the park. Whether that is chuck Archie Gray in there and get him to do equally defensive things, brilliant. Whether that is even, fuck it, Jamie Shackleton, who might not be technically the best player, but he does a lot of running. If we're desperate, maybe him. Maybe he can take the booking. Who knows? But Ilya Gruev, if he is fit, he starts for me. And in addition to that, we have a hell of a lot of thinking to do around Joel Piroe. Because I'm getting a little bit confused at this point. Maybe he's someone that thrives in a sort of 4-4-2-y shape where he's the deeper of the two centre forwards. I don't know. Maybe he's someone that just needs a little bit more time to adapt to playing in the 10 or in the 9. But at the moment, Bamford is a better 9, Rutera is a better 10, and he's not getting the game time to become honed in either of those positions, which itself is becoming an issue. That on its own is starting to cause us some problems and is something that we need to work on. And in addition to that, there is something good to see from this game, because I think the positive mentality is still there. You got to think about previous Leeds United sides. Imagine that going into this season, we don't have Daniel Farke at the helm. Imagine going into this season that we have Jesse Marsh running the side or Javi Gracia. Do you really think with either of those managers running the club, we have the mental strength to get back into this game? Do you really think that with either of those managers, we have the players that have the fitness to get into this game? Because I don't. I think that in itself causes problems. And I think Daniel Farke has baked in this sort of natural positivity to the side, this natural belief that we are better than the sides here. And if we keep on pushing, we will get the goal that makes the difference, that will get us points. And it might have only gotten us the 1 point this time. But having that positive mentality is so essential to getting promoted, because any side that doesn't have it will struggle when they come up against these matches. Like, was it the promotion season last time when we played against Barnsley and it was the most grindy, dreadful football game? But we got the points. And we had that strong mentality in the Bielsa season. And that's what we're looking to replicate here. And I think that is absolutely essential. But ultimately, I kind of want to know what you think. So, I'm going to run through some comments right now. I don't know if I'll cut off the VOD here. If I do, then the video's about to end. So, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Even become a channel member. I've made it as cheap as I can. But if I don't cut off the VOD here, stick around. We're going to talk to the comments a little bit. And I can't remember what the last comment that I looked at was. Joseph and Bamford up top could be lethal. I think they'd make a really good pairing. I think if there's a match where we can't play Rutera, we need to switch to something of a 4-2-4, where we've got Joseph doing a lot of the running behind from deep, and then Pat Bamford doing the more pressing stuff. And even then, both of them pressing will be a nightmare for other sides, because everyone is used to a single lone striker doing the press. Bamford has been fit for a while now. That is why he is one of our best players. Yeah, I hadn't seen that this was in response to Joseph should be playing every week. Far better player than Bamford. Another player, he's injured regularly. Farke played Cooper instead of Cresswell. Farke is technically inept and will cost us points. Right. Here we go. How much do we want Stats Bitch Joe to come out? Because Stats Bitch Joe is more than happy to show up. Let's do a cheeky little tap share, shall we? This is the season, right? Drop points here, drop points here, drop points here, here. Well, this was a cup match, but it's fine. Here. Drop points here. And we did here and here. And we did here and here. That's a lot of games where we've dropped points, isn't it? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 matches we drop points here. Yeah. There's one running trend here, one theme, one ongoing malarkey going on, I guess. How do I get that to go away? And that would be the fact that Patrick Bamford didn't start any of these matches. That's funny, isn't it? He started starting from here against Birmingham City. Shall we do some counting? That's a cup match. That's a cup match. Twice. With Patrick Bamford in the starting 11, we drop points twice. What do you want to happen here? Strikers are more than just their shooting. That has always been a thing. But even if we want to talk shooting, let's sort by shot on target percentage, shall we? Pat Bamford here, Piru here, Mateo Joseph here. You can just say that you hate Patrick Bamford. You don't have to try and pretend you've got some like big tactical thinking behind it. You can just admit that you've got a grudge here. You don't need to pretend. What more do you want to happen? Aside from he shoots on target more often, we win more, and structurally, everyone around him looks better. And it's not about opinions. It's recognizable fact that Bamford comes in and things get better. What do you want to see? Bamford's never fit. Okay. For the 2 seasons before this one, yes, Bamford had lots of injuries. For this season, he's been fine since the new year. He was fine for a while before the new year. And this, saying Farke's tactically inept is a wild take. I can do more screen sharing if we want. Because let's have a quick cheeky look. Weird that. Look at this. I didn't know that tactical ineptitude got you to 2nd place in the championship. Most seasons, 90 points gets you up. We're on 83 right now, and we've got 7 games to go. So if you want to tell me what is tactically inept about conceding the fewest goals in the league this season, having one of the highest rates of XG this season, go for it. Keep it coming. Christ above. Also this, in the context of the match Joseph comes on when players are tired, this is something that you need. It's something that, having the conversation with Evie a while ago, when she was saying that you need game changes, Mateo Joseph is becoming that, but you can't change the game if you start on the pitch. And what Bamford does is he drags defenders around, tires them out, and then you can bring on Mateo Joseph to play against a tired back line. Brilliant. Bamford was poor in the second half yesterday. If he's not getting the passes, he can't finish the chances. Would you have Bamford as the main striker in the Premier League? I don't know. That's the confusing part. Probably not if we can sign someone that's a little bit better. Complete honesty, if we can sign a better player, I'd want us to sign a better player. But the fact of the matter is, right now, we don't have better. Season starts in August, not New Year. My fucking God. That's the point. The entire point of the Bamford discussion, right? The Bamford conversation. Let's go backwards. You have said that Bamford isn't good enough. Yeah? That Bamford's performances aren't good enough. Before New Year, Bamford doesn't start a match. Since New Year, Bamford starts matches. Yeah, the season doesn't start in New Year. That's why we can make the comparison. And it's a very, very blatant comparison. It's so visibly clear that there's a difference. Gray's old enough, so is Joseph. Yeah, I'm in the same sort of spot for that. But I think the profile of player he is doesn't quite work for starting right now. The reason Bamford was never fit, Bielsa said he won't be fit till the end of the season. Marsh brought him back early a lot, and then Farke comes in, gives him time to get fit. He's not injured. Exactly. If you keep aggravating an injury, it's going to keep hurting, which is the problem. Good afternoon, Colin. I am very well. And you may have indeed broken the Joe. The Joe is trying to hold it, but the Joe is mid-mental breakdown. Also coincides with the Ampadu and Rodon partnership. The good runs down to a few key things. Yeah, exactly. I'm not disagreeing with that. Completely agree. The Ampadu-Rodon partnership is essential to us keeping it going, to us holding together. But I feel like the people that are saying that Bamford isn't good enough for this level at the very least, because I don't know about the Premier League, because he's not been fit in the Premier League for the last couple of seasons. But the people saying that he's not good enough for this level might have just not been watching, or might have their old opinions stuck in their head, and that's completely fine. That happens sometimes. But if you're watching this season, watch it on this season's merits, rather than watching him on the merits of playing. Yeah, I totally get that. I know what you meant. But judge him on the merits of this season, rather than judging him on the merits of the 2 seasons beforehand. Because that's fair. Bamford's supposed to be available all season. If he's constantly injured, then he's no good. He's not been constantly injured since New Year. That's the point. And the injuries started kicking in when he was consistently played by bad managers with shit man management when he wasn't fit. If you were to... Let's have a think who's injured right now. If you were to take Connor Roberts, who's on a dodgy ankle right now or something like that, I think it's his ankle, and say, no, okay, you play now. Is it his fault when he's injured 2 weeks later? Because a manager has said, no, keep going, you could keep playing the football. When you can't, because you're injured. If we would have played Ilya Gruev yesterday, gets into a slide tackle, someone lands on his ankle, he's gone for months. The point of that is, I don't think you can blame a player for being constantly picked by managers when they're not fit. And putting that on Bamford is daft. I don't understand it. Yeah, look at the goal against Peterborough if you think he's gash. Because he's clearly got that striker's instinct. He's clearly someone that knows where the fucking goal is. Hell, he knows where the goal is more than like all but 3 Leeds players. And those 3 Leeds players with better shot on target rates are Lewis Sinisterra, Liam Cooper, and Connor Roberts, who don't take shots. Somerville and Retter do too much, don't pass the ball. I think I agree on that. I think they need to be a little bit better at releasing it and sort of playing with the players around them. Bamford as a 10, I don't think would work because the way that he runs doesn't quite fit with that. He's good at pulling the defenders around, but if he's playing as a 10, they're not going to pay as much attention to him. Unless you're playing 2 strikers, so Joseph alongside Bamford, which could work. But who knows? You've been injured for 2 years. What planet are you on? Yeah, because he kept getting rushed back. This is the point. When he got injured after he scored against, I think, Wolves celebrating, do you really think if he's fully fit and has been picked when he's fully fit, he gets injured doing a knee slide? No, because he's been picked whilst he's still recovering. He's been rushed back. Daft, right? Anyway. Yeah, this is a point. The whole Bamford's not a good striker. He's one of the top lead scorers of all time, isn't he? But let's not talk about that. No. And then you'll get people saying, like, well, he's played more matches than lots of them. Well, has he? Let's have in fact, I'm going to have a look at Leeds United player stats because I'm a little bit curious. Players play when they're not 100%, don't listen to doctors' advice. The managers then have a dilemma. That's a case of the manager should listen to the doctor, though, right? Because it's not like the doctor only talks to the player. Like, there'll be a case of a lot of it will come down to the player being asked, do you feel ready to start? And then the way that a manager asks that can cause problems. Because if a manager, it's like at work. If you have a day off on a Saturday, but someone's ill, and the manager goes, "Well, I mean, it's a real shame that we're missing people. Are you sure you can't come in?" That's a different question to, "We're missing someone. Can you come in?" One of them is putting a lot more pressure on someone than the other. Would you buy Harry Wilson? Should we go up? I can't see us holding on to Cree. If we go up, I don't see a problem with us holding on to Cree. I think we'd be okay on that, but it's hard to say. Let's have a look. All right, where's Pat? Bamford cost £7 million in every way. He's outperformed that fee. Absolutely, yeah. We paid £7 million to have a striker that took us to promotion and then was the 4th best striker in the Premier League in his first year. Not good enough, though. What happened to Sonny Perkins? He not very good, basically. We loaned him out to give him more minutes at, I think, Oxford, that he didn't even start for Oxford, which tells me that either he isn't playing well or there's an attitude problem. Either way, probably not someone that's going to keep consistently playing here. And got an England cap. Exactly. Anyway, I'm going to move on from the Bamford chat, because the Bamford chat is, to put it kindly, incredibly boring, because it's always the same discussion. Look at Forshaw. He was a medical mystery. How many times were he injured? Yeah, absolutely. He was injured to the point where he had teeth out for a hip injury. Like, whatever was happening there was madness. We'll ignore that. Under 21's 2 down already. That is a little bit of a pain. I don't really enjoy that. Who are they against? And you've got to consider the 21s are currently missing one of their best players as well, because Charlie Crew was in Wales yesterday. Not Wales. Who did we play against? Why have I got Watford? I knew it was a wah. It's fine. Hey, thank you, Leeds United Nation podcast. That is massively appreciated. And thank you for the thanks. Chelsea in York. To be fair, Chelsea have like 70 senior players. Some of them happen to be under the age of 21, and they just pick those. We could have had Haaland for 5. Yeah, that's a little bit of a pain. Although you got to think the owners at the time, if you're in their position, I can see why, as a championship club, you don't spend £5 million on a 17. Oh, that was a fun hiccup. On a 17-year-old. Imagine if we would have signed him, though. That would have been so nice. Perkins has an attitude problem. Okay, that makes sense. I can see that. Perkins having a bit of an attitude problem is something that I am a little bit unsurprised about, to be honest with you. Because he forced his way out of West Ham because he was demanding more first-team time. And then he wasn't good enough at Leeds for the first team. And then you sort of get the feeling of, oh, okay, he thinks he's better than he is. And that just cycles. Players grow. Look at Firpo growing problems and always injured. Players need a consistent run to be at their best. Yeah, exactly. And now Bamford's had a consistent run and he's at his best. Firpo's had a consistent run at his best. And I agree that's why Cooper's struggling, because he's not sharp at the moment. Shouldn't change Ampadu and Rodon, keep them together at all costs. No disrespect to Cooper, who's found wanting. Yeah, and I think that's a sharpness thing. Ampadu and Rodon is a fantastic pairing. I feel like it's a little bit daft to try and break that up at the moment. The result helps us going forwards. Yeah, basically, if we lose that, I feel like that hits the morale a lot harder than it does. As is, pretty fine. But who knows? And if that's us playing badly and still getting a point, I'll take it. Yeah, we didn't play at our best, but we're still good enough to get a point. That's what matters. Perkins, when he joins Leeds, had a lump sum money and went to his head. It was like the Poveda situation. I don't think Poveda was the worst. Poveda is the kind of guy where if I knew him personally, I wouldn't like him that much. Because he feels like the kind of guy, like, I'm going to throw back to like a school situation here that is, no, sorry, uni. Someone that is always on a night out and then is like, whoa, can't believe you weren't there yesterday. And there's like, I don't. But on the pitch, I think he was all right. But if he doesn't fit in the current side, because let's be honest, being not as good as Nonto and Somerville isn't like an issue for a player. But Who knows? Moot point, but would you have liked Leeds to sign Emmanuel Dennis? No, because he feels like a bit of a tit. Feder was showing off Coops and Bill had words with him. That helps. At least we drop points when everyone else dropped points. Yeah, like coming back from an international break is not an easy thing to do. No one is going to be at 100% when you've just come back from internationals. And I'm quite glad that not only is it a good time to drop points, it's a good time to learn lessons. Because it's better to learn that you need Gruev and you need Ampadu and Rodon playing next to each other. It's better to learn that now than it is with 3 weeks left of the season, when every single point matters. And like the mentality thing is building and building and building and building. As Farke said, win the home games, draw the away ones equals promotion. Yeah, 2 points per game from this point would be 97 points. I don't see any team failing to go up on 97 points. It should be enough. It should be more than enough. And currently, Leicester, for example, are on worse form than... I'm going to find the lowest club that are on worse form than... Sheffield Wednesday are on better form than they are. Millwall are. Stoke City, comfortably better form. QPR. Leicester are having a slump. Because we know that Maresca isn't good at the mentality side of things. And the fact that we can keep leaning into that is huge for us. And it means that we can keep the pressure on. And as long as we're getting points and keeping things ticking over, that Leicester fan base is going to fall to shit. I can't wait for it. Anyway, going to give it another couple of minutes. And I think I'm going to end the stream because I think we've had a good natter. I think we've had a good discussion of what happened yesterday. Put your teeth in. Let's not talk teeth. Because I've had, in the past week, 2 dentist appointments. I've got another one coming in a couple of weeks' time because they bodged a root canal like a year ago, which is bad. Yeah, but at the same time, if buts and maybes, innit? We just got to keep the pressure on them. Yes, basically, yes. And they talk about jizz and cum too much. Hopefully, enough of you have watched propaganda so you know what I'm talking about there, and I've not just lost my nut. Anyway, I think also this, yeah, there's a lot to come. There's a lot of games to come. 7 matches. Hopefully, we're on the right end of a lot of them. Had a few root canals, they're awful. Thanks for making me feel very optimistic about the one I've got coming up. Yeah, knob. Leicester need to win the extra game in hand to go above us. Yeah. And that makes the difference because it keeps the pressure on. Even getting a point in the right situation will keep them pressed. And that's where we'll do quite well. And not only this, but I think we have the best team in the league. Anyway, I'm going to end the stream there because I quite desperately need to eat something. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Like the stream if you've not at any point so far. That would be very, very kind of you. It helps it get pushed out a little bit. Like, subscribe, become a channel member. If you fancy it, channel members, I've started doing little additional bits to my balls knowledge quiz, and I'm going to put them on the channel member stuff just as a thank you. So that'd be massively appreciated if you could, because as Paul in the chat will say, I think it was quite a good little added bit to the balls knowledge this time. Tested out a quiz question for the future, and I quite enjoyed that. But yeah, there we go. It was excellent. Another little reason to become a channel member. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. I'm going to go and have some lunch. I will see you later. And I'm also going to do the bit where I don't know what to say, because I think that's always a fun little addition to the streams, isn't it? See you later, everyone.